response video to the grape text, or whatever, Blubber Teresa. Let's call him Blubber Teresa now. I'll play the beginning of his video just for fun.
Work this morning, I kept getting buzzes on my phone.
I kept getting buzzes on my phone and stuff, and it's like, oh, I was at work and
looked at my phone and
getting buzzes. I have this alerts on my phone. I mean, right there. What is that? You have your YouTube alerts buzz you on the phone? I mean, you know, how pathetic are you? I guess you have a Facebook and a Twitter and a Dumbler and a Bumbler and a Fumbler. Hmm? Yeah, ooh, you're all networked, so you can do what? What can you do? You can talk about, well, I'm struggling with my weight problem and I lost 4 ounces today, and then somebody can give you encouraging words of, you know, help and say, oh, that's really good that you're, you know, scraping the chocolate frosting off your chocolate donuts. Hmm? I mean, what? Yeah, you're just totally sold out, right? Is there, I mean, if I think back to 6 years ago when you're making videos and what kind of human being you were then compared to the shithead you've become, oh, I mean, the corporation has just eaten your brain. Or maybe it's some kind of gray worms or something, I don't know.
The comments by Darth Aardvark on my video, Derived Energy is Dead. You know?
Right, so you're going to pay attention to the comments by a guy called Darth Aardvark. Right, so I should pay attention to the comments by, let's find my video. This one will do, I think. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Fuck you, you piece of shit. Yeah, Captain Caveman, he's a real intellectual. So I guess if I got beeped on my phone that old Captain had something to say, I should rush over there and start arguing with that pisshead. And then I can call that, look, I'll have an argument with a lunatic, and then I'll say I've defeated all of the entire pro-birth, pro-life, pro-natalist community. I've just annihilated all of them because I took care of Captain Caveman and explained to him how to shove his own head up his ass. No, I don't think so. But anyway, continue.
And for 4 hours he's been typing comments in this fucking video.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
So, whilst I was working doing a job that just so happens to help people, you know, this is how Darth Aardvark was spending.
Yeah, right. Helping people. He's helping people. Blubber Teresa is out there saving people from the horror of not knowing how to plug in their cable box. Right? I mean, so how are you enabling them? So I'll go to the end of the video where he calls us enablers. How are you enabling them? Do you ask these people who don't know how to plug in their cable box if they've been properly sterilized? Because, I mean, kind of obviously, if they can't plug their fucking, if they're complaining because their cable box isn't working and it's not plugged in, I guess you could argue that these aren't the kind of people that probably should be fucking breeding, right? And that is really the subject here, Borg man, you know, the advocate for the Borg. You know, that's really the subject. The agenda of you people is that somehow the dumbest, stupidest, creepiest, cruddiest failure humans on Earth are doing it right because they're having the entire excess population on Earth. The extra, all the extra. They're maintaining human existence and basically trying to shove us off the cliff of unsustainable environmental disaster. That's what they're doing. And you're saying they've got it right. And the sensible people are saying, fuck that bullshit, okay? I want to go whore around, have orgies, do all kinds of cool shit. They're the crazy fucks who need they need to be reprogrammed. They need to go through some Clockwork Orange reprogramming because they've got it all upside down because they don't see huge value in taking some new thing and saying let's create a new human being who's going to have all kinds of psychiatric issues and probably going to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or have some kind of psychiatric issues, and is going to end up with by the time they're 60, they're going to end up with like a 50% chance of being disabled somehow. And yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, the intelligent people say, no, that doesn't sound like a great idea. And, you know, when you explain the fact that, oh yeah, it's just going to live so it can, you know, learn shit and finally figure out how to have some sort of temperament in life just so it can get a disease and die. And that's your brilliant smart guy plan. And you're going to talk about how you've defeated antinatalism or you've had some sort of constructive impact in the world. No, sorry, you're a failure. As a human being and as an influence on the material matter swirling through the universe, your impact is decidedly smelly and negative. As was Mother Teresa's in the end. Haha. Yeah, the joke's on us, but you are the joke.
This person has... he's not just an angry, self-righteous guy abusing the death of somebody to go on some self-righteous crusade.
So yeah, that was the theme of the argument, was because gratex said some sort of snarky shit about derived energy suicide. And, you know, but that's the typical bullshit. And, you know, what people should be noticing maybe is the fact that, no English press covered the fact that some English guy died in an Indonesian rehabilitation center, and no one decided to cover the story. I mean, it is pretty pitiful. So we think life is so precious and so magnificent, so wonderful, and we can't even give a fuck when people die in Indonesian rehabilitation centers. The machine of your corporation, your helping people corporations, can't even find any value whatsoever in acknowledging that maybe somebody should have the story. That no matter what the story is, it's got to be a fucking story. It's, you know, it's always a little bit interesting when people are found, you know, bent over, drowned in a bathtub. There's always a story there, one way or the other. Whether somebody pushed them into the tub or whether they walked into the tub, it's a story. But does the human race give a fuck about that? No, they care about whatever, somebody doing some joke thing, or doing some kind of song thing, or doing some kind of dance thing, or some kind of other trivial bullshit. Finding chocolate that doesn't melt off the side of the donut, or doesn't get sticky on your fingers. Teflon chocolate. Yeah, it doesn't stick to your fingers at all, but it doesn't have that crunchy M&M crappy candy over it. Yeah, that's what you people are really after. Fuck.
And tell people how violent he wants to be. It's more than that, and then gets to the stage where you can tell that he's really fucking unhappy and resonant.
Yeah, yes, what? You know, does anybody see this as just pretty much ludicrous? Like, I couldn't find about 500 crazy people to sit there and engage with and then say, once I've defeated them with my witticisms, which I don't even think he won the argument, right? Because he's the one who's going to have a bloody dick in the end. He didn't even win the argument. And, you know what, I can't do that? Sure I could sit there and engage with the craziest of the pro-natalists, and that would prove something? No, I think that would prove that I wasn't smart enough not to waste my time. But I am smart enough to do that. I pick on better targets. Yeah, Blubber Teresa.
With this person and wants to do what they did, and then more than that, when it goes on for a couple hours more, it's like
blah 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 blah.
Yeah, this has gone beyond somebody that's depressed and probably somebody that has...
Yeah, right. And so you can't see how you might have an issue where you had to get alerts on your phone so you could rush to a video to engage with a crazy fuck. Somebody you know who's a crazy fuck right from the first comment. And you engage with him, and then you psychoanalyze him. And you don't sit there and spend a few seconds wondering, why the fuck did I do that? Oh, maybe I have some kind of, you know, sick, psychotic, psychological issues where I need to do this for entertainment. Because, I mean, obviously I don't think you were going to, you're going to convert him to something? You can't convert the people who can't plug in their cable box, because I'm sure they call you back 2 months later and say my box isn't working again, and you have to explain again. Well, follow the little cord going out of the back of the box and see if it's still plugged into the fucking wall, retard.
As some kind of other mental illness or something.
Yeah, whatever. So this whole idea of mental illness. I mean, here you as a complete, controlled, functional soldier of the Borg, just totally lost in your silly ambitions and your little tiny compensation mechanisms, like somehow it'll compensate for your patheticness of your existence and how pathetic you have been in fixing anything in your entire existence or doing anything useful, and you'll somehow fix that if you have some spawn go into the world and take bigger shits than you. Jeez, that's pretty pathetic.
And what can you do about that, I mean, what can an untrained person do to deal with this person?
Oh, an untrained person. You think the trained people are really effective? You think the trained people have done anything really great in terms of fixing anybody? They sit there and write a prescription and try to sit there and make their legs move slower so they can do less damage in the world. But that's about it. Right? They slow them down enough so they can't do too much damage. And that's about how the professionals are handling anything. I mean, realistically. But you're helping people. Why don't you explain how you help people? Plug in their cable box. Why they're probably spending their welfare check on it, right? Why their kids, have rotten teeth. Yeah. Tell us how you're helping people. Enabler.
I don't think antinatalism is helping in this situation.
Well, I don't think Borg thinking is helping anybody either. I don't think all the little sluts who are running around saying, Gratex says I can have as many babies as I want. I don't think you're helping them any either. I don't think you're helping all the irresponsible twats that are creating kids. I don't think you're helping them at all by giving them some sort of sense that, oh yes, there's function and purpose. Yes, this isn't incredibly complicated in terms of the mechanisms of biology and how it controls patterns of behavior and how you're totally manipulated in a very deterministic way. I mean, we see the cycles that are involved here. And we certainly see our original construction, and we still retain much of that stuff. It hasn't been turned into vestigial desires. No, they're just sort of built on top of each other. And so inside of us lives the flatworm that is our ancestor, a flatworm.
I don't think F-wism is helping in this situation.
You already said that. I mean, do you understand how that's sort of, sometimes if they have like a survey of questions about what indicates retardation, repeating yourself is probably on the list.
Yeah. It's helping to enable.
Enable what? What exactly? What is it enabling? So you're saying somebody has all kinds of anger issues, or they just find destructive, snarky-mouthed trolls. You're a troll on the internet. You do know that, right? That they would sit there every once in a while and try to fart in your direction. That somehow that's a condition that needs correcting. I guess I would argue that's sort of a sensible behavior, and that these people probably, you don't have any evidence of their real life in any way, so I guess you really can't be passing judgment. But anyway, let's just concede that he's a little bit crazy, and you're going to argue that it matters what his focus is. That if his focus wasn't you and pro-natalists, pro-lifers, that his focus would somehow be constructive. That he wouldn't be out chasing, the package of French fries that assassinated Kennedy, or some other crazy thing. That he'd loop onto something reasonable and rational. And I have to account for every one of those, right? I mean, all the antinatalists, it's all our fault that some antinatalists are a little bit whacked. That's our fault. We have to control that somehow. But you don't have to control the psychos on the Borg side. No. Fair cop? No. No, no, no.
It's helping to give righteousness to the people who act out like this.
Yeah, and you're helping to give righteousness to the little sluts and whores and twats and, what's the word for that? The immature morons, alright, who think they've accomplished something because they've created something they have no capacity to raise properly. Yeah. The hope sellers and shit.
But it certainly ain't helping him.
And you helped him by what? Engaging in with him in some sort of troll fight thingy. Oh, you insulted me. Let's see if I can come up with witticism to insult you with. And you helped him by doing that. No, I don't think so. You helped him by making what? A rational counter argument? No, I don't think you did anything like that. You're just a god botherer. Why don't you just admit it? You're just a god botherer.
In any positive way.
Oh, yes. And you would know the difference. You would know the difference, right? No, you don't know anything. No, I don't think. So he suggested something. Throwing the baby and keeping the bath water. Okay, he's suggesting I go there. So maybe I'll do that next. Let's go there. What the hell? He suggested it, so I guess I'm obligated because he suggested it.
Hey Fred, first of all, I'm not saying you are a pessimist. You're manifesting.
He was a little fatter then. Yeah.
Not necessarily a pessimist. You're not
Tell me gratex.
No, tell me that's not even a valid criticism of somebody to say they are a pessimist. I mean,
blah, blah, blah,
I wouldn't criticise him and say he's just a pessimist. Although he is just a pessimist. That's not necessarily a reasonable criticism of somebody.
Yeah,
I'm a pessimist in my job. I'm also a cynic in my...
Well, I guess you're not anymore. Yeah, the Borg has been good for you, yeah. It's thinned you down, okay, it really has. The Borg has done that for you. And it's gotten you pretty optimistic, because now you think you're helping people in your job. You're a helper.
Yeah. Job. And somewhat pessimistic and cynical about our species and quite misanthropic, but it doesn't mean to say I am those things and hence I can be dismissed or whatever I say is tainted by that in some way, whereas somebody who isn't those things is untainted. We're all tainted, it's all subjective, it's all opinion.
There you go, it's all subjective. See, so again, this is all just this value relativism bullshit, and that's what it all comes down to, is people want to be able to make up their own truth so they can say, hey, I've been handed a pretty lousy genetic bucket of crap, and I'm just going to pretend that it's really cool, though. And I'll just make up stories and fake narratives about how this all works out in the end and how it all makes sense somehow. And it's all just to make you feel more comfortable. It's all more acceptable because you paint a silly story on top of it to make it all make sense for you. And, yeah, that's just not... I mean, it's not rational. Ah, Fox Neruda. What is the value of consciousness that a... Oh, sorry. Till next time, and such. Alright, doing an add-on. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but I'm going to do it. Yeah, so Neruda was a good little comment, turning gas valves on and all that stuff, so that was good. But this is the real gold, right? This is Gratex's response a year ago. This is an older video, of course. P.S. Since when does life need to be justified? In quotes. So, I mean, that sort of just says it all, right? I mean, you know, these people think that it's not sensible or logical to sit there and evaluate the most important system in the universe, one could argue. The most important one we can detect anyway. There's no other system creating consciousness as far as we know, as far as any evidence indicates. And yet he thinks we shouldn't analyze and evaluate the performance of a system creating consciousness. And that's what people with brains, that's how something that has some sort of logical function should be saying is, no, you don't analyze a system, you just do it. Okay, there's the capacity to acquire energy through nuclear manipulation. You just do it. Okay, there's the power to manipulate the genetic code of the seeds and the organisms. You don't think about it. You just do it. You know, you can make little nanobots. You don't think about it. Just do it. You know, just play along. If it's doable, you do it. Because that's what the system wants. Anything doable is doable. You just do it. Because you don't judge the most important thing. So why would you judge any of the lesser things? Why would you judge the impact of something? Why would you judge performance? I mean, if you can make a car that gets a half a mile to a gallon of gasoline, make it. Yeah, if it's can, you do. You don't think. Thinking? No, that's for losers. According to Blubber Teresa. So anyway, I'm just saying, you don't need to go. That's just... Since when does life need to be justified again? So it's been running for 4 billion years and nobody should stand up and say, hey, is this thing efficient enough? Yeah, no one should ask the question. No, don't ask questions. Don't pursue something called the truth. No, just be a victim. Just make victims. That's the gratex way, because he helps people. He's a helper. Pathetic. 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 And he thinks himself intelligent. It's pathetic.